Welcome to tape 4 of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. As Stephen next describes in his presentation of Habit 5, entitled Seek First to Understand, Then to Be Understood, learning how to communicate effectively and empathically is one of the master skills in life and is the key to building win-win relationships.
I'll tell you what the real challenge is in going for win-win performance agreements. It's the listening process in getting out how they really see it and how they feel about it. See, people have a lot of stuff in them, and you can't put new wine in old bottles. You've got to get it out. And often it takes time to build the emotional bank account before the trust toward you is high enough that they're willing to express themselves. That's why Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood, is the essence of our professionalism. Habit 5 is the habit of communication. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Can you imagine taking glasses off somebody and giving those glasses to somebody else? Well, let's try it for a second. I take your glasses, my friend. It's obvious you need new glasses, and I think you'll really like these. Like them?
No.
He liked them. Don't you like them? And don't they look good on him, everybody? They're tremendous. You wear them a while, you get used to them. Like them better?
No.
No. Try harder, my friend. This is the company way.
Still can't see.
Still can't see? A lot of negative spirit in that. Think positively. Nothing wrong with this program that a good positive attitude can't correct. Like them now? You're going to be part of this team? No. I can't believe your attitude. After all we have tried to do for you. Son, your mother and I for many years have attempted to distill a few pearls of wisdom for your benefit. You like them now, son?
No.
No. You are the most ungrateful. Do you have any idea the kind of sacrifices that your mother and I have made for you?
Yes.
Well, then be grateful and appreciative of what we've done for you. Like them now, son?
No.
Can you imagine the ingratitude of this generation? Thank you. See, the natural tendency in most people is to prescribe out of their own autobiographies. Let me tell you about my experience. Or let me tell you how I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. Let me tell you, see, they're prescribing their own glasses for other people rather than really deeply understanding what's happening inside other people and then prescribing based upon that diagnosis. Can you imagine the amount of security it takes to go into a deep listening experience where you don't know how it's going to end up? You do not know. You're on a Northwest Lewis and Clark expedition into those territories. You don't know where you're going to end up. Your security has to lie in your ability to accommodate and adapt to any given set of circumstances. Wild Indians, wild nature, weather, anything. You don't know. That's where habits 1, 2, and 3 provide that security. You're at peace, and you can inwardly flex and be adaptable to whatever the situation may bring. That's habit 5. Seek always to understand first. Study every profession. Medicine, obviously, has to diagnose before prescribing. In law, you have to study precedent and the case of the other attorney before you really develop your own. In engineering, you have to study the stresses and the forces that are at play before you design the bridge, the road. In teaching, you should pre-assess before you attempt to teach. In parenting, you need to understand. The other day, someone was giving an illustration of little PC toward his son. He was punishing his son for disobeying him and going around the corner. And he kept punishing him. The son kept going around the corner. Eventually, out of tear-filled eyes, the son looked the father in the eye and said, "But Daddy, what does corner mean?" See, the father did not seek first to understand the boy's level of understanding. He wasn't in the head of the boy. He was into his own head. Projecting, like home movies. Projecting. This is the way you should think. This is the way you should feel. Sympathy is sometimes a very appropriate emotion. Oh, I'm sorry, my friend. You've had that difficult experience and you've lost this loved one. I'm very sorry. Empathy is emotional and intellectual understanding of what the other person is feeling. Sometimes if you sympathize with a person, they'll feed on it and they'll never get out of it. Makes them dependent. Sometimes sympathy is the appropriate emotion. But if you empathize with a person, you get inside their frame of reference. See how they see it, how they feel it. You don't feel that way at all. You're not agreeing, you're not disagreeing. You're not even probing. Probing itself comes too much out of our own autobiographies. We take control when we probe. This is why many parents don't get close to their kids. They probe so much. How's it going, son? Fine. What's happening lately? Nothing. What are your plans for this weekend? I don't know. Son, don't you ever contribute of yourself around here? Do you live in a motel? All the things we do for you, we get 1- and 2-word answers, and we can't get you off the phone with your friends because you're probing. You can play 20 questions with people all day long and not find out what's important to them. Why? Your questions come from your own autobiography. In empathy, you listen with the eyes. You listen with the right brain more than with the ears. You listen for feeling, for meaning. You don't even need words to come back. You listen for behavior. You sense. You intuit. You feel. Then you can begin to have deep sensing, deep understanding of what's happening, and the basis to really know what would be an appropriate win-win approach. I had one father say to me, "You know, I can't understand my kid. He won't listen to me at all." Let me restate what I heard you saying. You don't understand your boy because he won't listen to you. That's right. Let me restate it again. You don't understand your son because he won't listen to you. That's right. What's your point, Stephen? Well, I thought to understand another, you needed to listen to them. Oh, yeah. Well, I already understand him. I mean, I've gone through it. I could tell you the things. Now, that's your autobiography. Do you listen from within the frame of reference of another? That takes not only skill, but emotional strength, which comes out of habits 1, 2, and 3. That's why most people cannot listen in depth. What are you risking if you deeply listen to another? You might be changed. And unless there is a changeless core about you, that is your integrity to your own changeless value system, you can't afford that risk. You don't know what's going to happen. People who act as if they don't care about other people's opinions care too much what other people think. That's why they're defending themselves against listening. Why? They're too vulnerable. They could be wiped out. What if they didn't like me? Where would I go and hide then? What would I do then? The real strength of the ability to practice habit 5 comes out of the first 3 habits. The ability to listen. And 4 and 6. 6 is merely the creative side of habit 5, where 2 people interact back and forth and produce new and better solutions. Most people, however, are scripted into fight or flight. Seriously. Fight or flight. Take them on, fight them, give up, capitulate. Fight, flight. Both immature communication patterns. One of the 2 must develop the third alternative. Let me see if I can understand you first. Most people would say, well, I understand, but he or she won't try. You don't understand enough. There's reasons why the other person won't understand. There's psychological dynamics at play. And it doesn't take any big professional training. You don't become an amateur shrink or a psychoanalyst to figure out. You just simply try to listen from within the frame of reference of another. I hear you saying, I sense your feeling. Now that's hard, particularly when you think otherwise on a jugular issue with a person that's close to you. It's very hard, but you can do it. Why? Because your security does not come from the relationship. Your security comes from your integrity to your value system. I'd like to give you an experience for a moment. I'm going to split this room in half and show one picture to one side of the room and a different picture to the other side of the room. And then I'm going to show a third picture to both sides of the room. Okay? I'm purposely trying to script or program your heads. Okay? First, I'm going to show a picture to this side of the room right here. This side of the room, please close your eyes and look down. Now I'll show a different picture to this side of the room. Okay, you open your eyes over here. This side of the room, please close your eyes. Thank you. Now I'll show a third picture to both sides of the room. Everyone look at this one. When you first looked at this, the third picture, how many thought it was an old lady? Raise your hand. How many thought it was a younger woman? Raise your hand. I do this all the time all over the country. And in 1 second of conditioning, it will split a room in half. There'll be a few exceptions. Those who were conditioned by the first picture to see the young girl would see the young girl in the third picture. Those conditioned to see the old lady would see the old lady in the third picture. Then I get them to interact with each other. Now they are aware they've been programmed, so their interaction is far more respectful. Also in some of our training programs, we haven't told them about being programmed. We've just included different pictures in their materials. So they were unaware of the scripting or the programming. And then when they interact with each other, that's when you see the sparks fly. What do you mean, old lady? She's lovely. She couldn't be more than 20, 22 years old. Oh, come on. You've left your tree. She's 70. She could be pushing 80. Really. Then you see the constant ego battles, and people invest their ego even more into it. It exacerbates the problem, and you discover one of the greatest insights in the field of communication, that 99% of all of the problems start with early misunderstandings. Why? Because we do not see the world as the world is, we see the world as we are. That first conditioning experience causes us to interpret lines differently. The only fact you have up here is a line. What do you think it means? One says that's the old lady's mouth. The other says that's the young girl's necklace. That's called the aha experience, my friends. This is one reason why great consultants often say, effective executives don't go for facts, they go for opinion. It's opinion that gives meaning to facts. It's our prior experience that enables us to interpret these facts in different ways. Therefore, habits 4, 5, and 6 are the spirit of, let's talk it through, listen to each other until we can see each other's point of view. And in this little demonstration are embodied habits 4, 5, and 6. Now, for those who have seen these pictures before, at any time, how many, when you looked at this picture here, saw the one you were originally conditioned to see? Raise your hand. Look around so you can get an idea of the number. How many saw the opposite of the one you originally conditioned? One person. The overwhelming majority were with the group that had been conditioned in a particular way. It teaches you something very powerfully. That first impression is going to lay inside the mind and heart of a person for years to come. And if I were to return here a year from today and show you this picture again, you would see the one you were conditioned to see back there when. There'd always be a few exceptions, but they're very few. We see the world as we are, not as it is. Most people don't really believe that, though. They think they see the world objectively. They see it as it is, that they're right, and that it is illogical for two to both be right and disagree. It is psychological. They're both right from within their own frame of reference. And if there could be that kind of respect given in the human communication, where they listen, practicing habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood, deposits to be made in that emotional bank account, and you'd see two individuals who see it differently come to understand each other's point of view and produce the third alternative, the creative, synergistic alternative that embraces the interests and the concerns and the objectives of both into a win-win agreement or a win-win set of expectations. Never forget how powerful 1 second of conditioning is, particularly when you think about the years and years of scripting and conditioning with the people with whom you interrelate. That should teach us all a tremendous lesson that we should never forget. Teach us to be reverent and respectful and to seek first to understand. Now that takes character strength when the tendency, the need in most of us is to seek first to be understood. I was back in Chicago, and it was a 2-day seminar on the 5th habit. I said, practices at night. One guy came in the next morning and said, let me tell you what happened last night. I was in the hotel room. We were trying to cinch this real estate deal, a big institutional real estate deal, and the participants, the principals were there, their attorneys were there, and for the first time another real estate guy was there. And it looked as if I was going to lose the deal. And I've been working on this now for many months, over 6 months. I've had no other income. In a sense, all of my eggs were in this one bushel, all of them, this one basket, and I didn't know. I was panicked. And I did everything I could to pull out the stops, to use every technique I could. And then I said to myself, I'm going to lose this deal. Why not practice what I learned today? Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So I stopped all of my techniques and manipulations and just said to the man, let me see if I can understand what your position is fully until you feel like I understand it. And then we'll see whether my proposal has any relevance or not. And he said to the man, I really want to understand. I sense your concerns are these. And the man opened up a little. Furthermore, I sense that you worry about this, and that if you don't go in this direction, these kinds of things will result. Do I understand? More was opened up, more empathy expressed, until that person in the middle of our conversation said, excuse me a minute, stood up, walked to the other side of the room, picked up a phone, called his wife, turned around, and with his hand over the mouthpiece said, you've got the deal. He said, I was totally dumbfounded. I had no idea what had happened. I explained the dynamic is that if you meet the human need to be understood, you're also meeting the need to be appreciated. And people feel validated. They feel affirmed as a human being. And when it came right down to it, those human deposits were more important than the technical dimensions to the deal. And he became aware the kind of an investment, the effort, the energy you put into it over a long period of time, and it went in your favor. Even though technically it might have been better the other way. I have a friend who teaches at a university who feels like his research interests are out of the mainstream and never gets any money. I said, do the same thing. Go, present your point of view fully, but you already have, they haven't accepted it, then listen to their point of view. Restate their position better than they can themselves, with such respect, with such completeness, such clarity, that they'll feel understood, appreciated, validated, and affirmed. He did it. And halfway through the presentation, the two senior professors turned to each other, said, Mark, you've got the money. Seriously, it is an absolute miracle principle, the 5th habit. We have full all-day seminars. I've done them on every one of these 7 habits, all day on each one. The one most requested over all the years is the 5th habit, because it's so powerful.